So while Emma is doing the slides, just to demonstrate what Jolanta was saying about some of the kids at Vilnius private gymnasium, we wrote a book, myself and Emma, some years ago, and this book came out of a conversation that Raza and I were having over a large volume of red wine. And any of you that know myself and Raza will know that this happens. It happens. But I've just done a program with 20, 25 social workers, teachers, pedagogues that Raza had helped us to organize. And we had a sponsor from Statoil. And after that program, it occurred to me that I spent most of my life teaching business leaders about emotional intelligence and how to lead their organizations and themselves in an emotionally intelligent way. But then it occurred to me that a lot of the things that I'm actually teaching, children do them naturally until we teach them not to. So how about we made a concept where we made the kids the experts? So what I did is I picked out 11 of the areas from the emotional intelligence model, and I wrote some psychology, some theory, some tools about how it works and how we can use it with adults. But the most important part of this book is Emma went and interviewed lots of children from her school from the age of 4 to the age of 15, 16 about these concepts. What does self-worth mean to you and why is it important? What is awareness of others to you and why is it important? The words and the pictures and the stories that the children shared with us in this book, unbelievable. And you know what I found, and what I have found through my career, is the younger we ask the children about this, the easier it is for them to connect with it. You know, you don't have to teach a 5-year-old child to be mindful and live life in the moment. They do it. They're much more mindful than adults, right? Somewhere our adults get addicted to computers and all the busyness and all the other opportunities we have out there to be busy in the world. A 5-year-old doesn't need that training. He will spend happily, or she will spend happily, 2 hours playing with a tomato, running around chasing a ball, just being there. There is no future, there is no past, there is only now. Amazing stories of self-worth as well. I'm going to talk about that straight after lunch. We asked children to draw pictures, coats of arms, of how they see themselves and the values that they're proud of. They found it easy. Of course I'm proud of myself. I asked the same question to business leaders, chief executives. They're completely embarrassed to talk about what they like about themselves. Sometimes I ask them to stand up and give presentations. They can't. I ask them to spend 5 minutes talking about why they respect themselves. They can't. So just before I talk about values, I just wanted to point out, if any of you want a copy of this book, it is available. I'm not trying to sell it for myself, but we do ask people to make a small donation to Save the Children, because this book was written for Save the Children. So, there we go. Now, values, marvelous, kind of important. Perhaps the most important set of hardwired beliefs in your life. And we have an area of the LPS which we call personal values alignment. How well are you currently living your life in line with your personal values? Of course, the only way you can know that is first to know what your personal values are. Because personal values live in our subconscious brain. They are kind of what I call in the emotional foundations part. They're deep within our subconscious. Therefore, by definition, many of us in our lives never get to consciously know what they are. We never get to put words or concepts on it, the language of the rational brain. But it's only when we put the elephant and the rider in teamwork and we translate those values so that we understand them, or the rider understands them, that we can actually start to make active choices so we know that the direction or the path we're going to take is in line with our values. We understand more why we're happy with one person's behavior and unhappy with another's. Emotional intelligence in action. Why did I react to him and why not to her? Because he did something that was actually treading on my values and I consciously know that. She didn't. Most people never get to that level. If you went out there on the street now and you interviewed 1,000 people and said, what are your personal values? And how well do you live your life in line with them? They don't know. Nobody ever asks them. Oh, personal values. Oh, yeah, I should know what they are. And they'd probably make something up. So I think we can really help ourselves and children by helping at an earlier age people to understand what their values are so that they can make informed decisions that's going to lead to a happier life. It's really simple. If your life is in line with your values, you're going to be happier. If your life is not in line with your values, if you're working for an organization or a leader, or you're making decisions that don't fit well with your values, you'll be unhappy. That simple. Foundations of your life. We often don't know them because they're deep in our subconscious brain. Values are also really important because it's our values that leads us, unfortunately, to making judgments of other people. You see, whether you know them or not, you've got a set of values inside that you believe to be right. Because we believe our own beliefs are right. They're not. They're just different to other people's. But if somebody else does or says something that doesn't agree with your values, then you're more likely to judge that person. And if you're not emotionally intelligent, and you don't have the ability to press your emotional button, and remember only to judge the action, but not the person, you'll go through life judging people as good people or bad people. Give you an example. Let's imagine that your number one value is honesty. Yeah? And let's imagine that you find out that one of your colleagues has been lying. It becomes clearer at a team meeting, at a staff meeting. First, you'll have an emotional reaction because you have a value of honesty. And from our values, we grow lots of beliefs. So one of your beliefs is, I don't like people who lie. This is a belief you have. It's not a fact, it's a belief. So within milliseconds, your emotional brain, your elephant, it's more powerful, it's got 6 billion neurons of firepower, it reacts. You have a strong emotional reaction. Then it leads to a judgment, because our emotions come before our thoughts. So very, very quickly, based on that negative emotional reaction, you start to think, I don't like that person, it's a bad person, I can't work with that person. I'm going to go and speak to the principal, and either that person is fired or I go, because I can't work with a liar. This is a typical thing that could happen to people. An emotionally intelligent person would still have the same emotional reaction because you have a right to have a value of honesty, and all emotions are good. They're telling us something honest and pure. The difference is the emotionally intelligent person would press their pause button and they wouldn't judge the person as a bad person for lying. They would judge the action. And they'd have a dialogue in their head, something like, okay, I don't like it that Irma lied to me. She never did, by the way, but I don't like it that Irma lied. So I'm going to share that with you, and I'm going to speak with Irma, and I'm going to sit down with her and say, Irma, when you were found that you were lying, it had a strong emotional impact on me, because honesty is really important to me. I don't like lying. So we're going to have to find a way that we can build trust and openness in our relationship for me to be able to feel comfortable working with you in the future because of this value has been hit. And then you would ask Irma some questions. Can I understand it? Can I understand your motivation? You see, I'm judging the lying as something I don't like, but I'm not judging Irma. How can you judge someone if you don't understand them? But most people don't, you see. They have the emotional reaction, and then they stop at, I don't like Irma. She's a bad person. She lies. Actually, no, that's not true. She lied once, or at least we have evidence she lied once. And we certainly can't call her a bad person just because she lied. So we have to be careful, because our values will lead us to judge people if we don't manage them and the emotions attached to them. There are lots of values up there, and there are many more. We've all got a unique set. It's a little bit like our fingerprints or our DNA. The lady here at the front has got different values to the lady next to her. And even if they had the same values, they probably wouldn't interpret them in the same way. So just like your DNA or your fingerprints are unique to you, so are your values. Yes, you can talk about team values, society values, organizational values, and these are all important as well. Societies have values, governments have values, but we also have personal values. And they're probably the most important set of values that you need to know about and be part of in your life. So, money and family, they're not values. Often when I say to people, what's important to you, people say my family is a value. And I say, no, it's not a value, because it's too big. But if you think about it, your family can give you many, many things. So then I say, what does your family give you? Is it love, honesty, sharing, fun, connection, security? These are all values. Money is the same. Money is not a value. What you choose to spend your money on might be connected to your values if it makes you genuinely happy. So just to highlight that those are not values. We can teach people. On our master's program, on my online program, I show a very simple coaching activity where in half an hour you can help another person just by listening to them and asking them the right questions. You can help another person to have a list of their top 10 values and in priority order of which are most important right now in their life. What a simple thing to be able to do. What an amazing gift. I remember I did some training for Irma. Irma runs a leadership program for young adults, like 17, 18-year-olds, Leadership Academy. And we did 2 days of training with these amazing young people 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember sharing this with them. And then they went and coached each other, and they helped each other to understand what their values are. And I remember thinking, what a difference it would have made to my life if when I was 17, my careers advisor, my teacher, rather than telling me what I needed to do and do science, because that's the only serious subject, because everyone does science. If you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, do science. That was the careers advice I got. What if someone sat down with me and helped me to understand my values, and then I could start to use those values every day forward in all the decisions I make in my life from that day on? And I really understood myself and what matters most to me in my life each day. You see, this is something we can give young people. It's not difficult if we know how to do it. And that brings me to my final question before I'll hand back to Irma, and that is, how can we use our personal values? I already gave you some hints, right? Every decision you make in your life, if you know what your values are, you can know, does that bring me closer to my values? Does that take me further away from my values? Every time we get an emotional response, we can become more intelligent about that emotion, emotional intelligence, by understanding what values are connected to it. Why is it I'm so fond of Raza and Irma, and I think they're angels on earth? It's because we have similar values. It's because we have a massive value overlap. And I'm sure they're not the same, but clearly we share values as people. So I automatically connect and like spending time with these ladies. Why is it I find it harder with other people, and I don't ever see myself wanting to be their friend or socializing with them? Maybe we have very different values. I'm not saying mine are better, they're just different. And therefore, I can actively understand why I find it hard to spend time with some people and easier with others. And the list goes on. There are so many uses. One of the biggest gifts I had in my life is when my dear friend and colleague, Lisa, who's a qualified coach and does training with me, she's the values guru. She's the one that taught me everything I know about values. And about 10 years ago, she sat down with me, and 2 hours later, okay, we took 2 hours, not half an hour, but we took 2 hours. And after 2 hours, I had absolute clarity on what those things were that were most important to me in my life. And then Lisa gave me a framework of how I can use that moving forward and finding out what's going to make me happy in my future career and my future other decisions, relationships, friendships. Kind of a gift for life if you know what your values are, and part of the foundations of emotional intelligence. Thank you.